Hey, welcome back. Another edition of Daily Scone. Thrilled that you're here. If you have not yet, please hit the subscribe button. Also thrilled to announce not only now on iTunes and Podbean, but also Spreaker, Google Play Music, and Stitcher. The applications then we should be up on Stitcher within 5 days as well. So as however you want to consume this, I'm trying to make that available to you. So thank you for finding us, and please subscribe. I appreciate it greatly. So something happened today, and I thought it was a really good lesson, and something I wanted to share that I think you might find interesting if you're a listener to talk radio, sports radio, if you consume sports media, or if maybe you have an ambition of getting into any type of media, but particularly sports. So LSU baseball is playing in the SEC tournament, and Baton Rouge may be a rare market in that you can actually talk about college baseball just because of the loyal following that LSU baseball has. And it's actually content that can carry shows in this time of year. But we started something on the show last baseball season. I noticed there was a kid on the team named Todd Peterson. And if you're an LSU baseball fan, you're probably already chuckling. I had no idea if Todd Peterson was ever going to amount to anything on the team. I don't mean that to be disrespectful. I just genuinely didn't know. But as soon as I saw his name on the roster, I immediately thought of the character that Andy Samberg played in the movie That's My Boy. It was he and Adam Sandler, and it's really a terrible movie. It's a typical Sandler-Samberg type movie. But the long and the short of it is that Andy Samberg's character is Todd Peterson. There's a point in the movie where he says, "My name's not Todd Peterson." And he says it just like that, and it's hilarious. And so I saw the kid on the team was Todd Peterson. I said, you know what? Like, this gives me an excuse to play that drop. And last year as a freshman, he pitched out of the bullpen every now and again, and every time we'd have an opportunity to mention him, anytime he was mentioned on the air, we'd play the Todd Peterson drop. And it became a thing. Well, this season going into the year, Todd Peterson was going to be LSU's number 3 weekend starter. He was going to have an increased role, more of an opportunity to play the drop. People started to catch on to it. Some liked it. Some said they hated it, but really deep down loved it. And it's just sort of carried on. And it's gotten to the point now where quite literally every time Todd Peterson pitches, people will tweet me like, I can't even hear the kid's name anymore without thinking about the drop. It's every time. It's even gotten to the point like when I have guests on the show, and even if they have no idea about the drop, but even when I have a guest on the show, if they mention Todd Peterson, Brian, the producer, knows, hit the drop. So we've explained it to some like Kendall Rogers, who's a national college baseball writer for D1Baseball.com. He comes on the show regularly. Like, he thinks it's hilarious, so every time he comes on, he finds a way to work in the Todd Peterson mention so he can hear the drop. Every time he tweets about Peterson, like he ats me on Twitter, it's. I tell you all this for context, just so you understand. It's become a thing. Like, it's become a full-on thing within this little sect of the LSU fan base that loves baseball and is aware of the Todd Peterson drop. So it brings us to today. LSU's playing in the SEC tournament, and lo and behold, Todd Peterson just has this hero ball type game. He comes out of the bullpen, he's nails. As a closer, he ends up going 4 innings, completely slams the door, pitches into the 12th, and then as a weird twist of how things worked out in the game, LSU forfeited the DH, so the pitcher had to hit. Well, Peterson was rolling, so they let him hit. And I'll be damned if the kid doesn't bang a 2-run double off the wall. Place is going bonkers. So LSU winds up winning. He does the post-game interview, and he's like, the field reporter's asking him, if he ever hit. He's like, yeah, I hit in high school. I used to hit bombs. And just like so much swagger. Like, I'm not even the guy. I just play the damn drop on the radio, and my phone is blowing up. Like, it was one of the times when I almost considered turning off my phone or turning off my notifications because my phone it felt like it was about to break. That's how many Twitter mention notifications and text messages I was getting when Todd Peterson, who I'm not related to and never even met, hit that double off the wall and then finished out the game. But my point with all of that is, it's a great lesson to have fun. It's a great lesson to have fun with sports talk or any talk radio. Like, it is, sports at its most basic level is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be entertaining. That's not to say you can't do serious stuff and there aren't serious topics. And yes, when that comes, the tone has to change. But man, it is so important that I've learned, like, I take my job very seriously. My job is how I pay my mortgage. It's how I feed my family. It's how I provide. Like, my job is like, it's not recreation for me. For a lot of people, sports is just something they do in their spare time. For me, it's my job. Like, it's literally how I pay for things. So I take my job very seriously. But I try not to take myself too seriously. Like, you've got to be able to put yourself out there and laugh at yourself and be the butt of a joke and venture into this kind of territory so that your audience knows, like, it's like your friends. Like, sometimes your friends are going to jab you and laugh at you and you're going to be the butt of the joke, but you're buddies, so at the end of the day, you're all just going to laugh about it and drink a beer. Like, that's the kind of camaraderie that I want to create. It's my goal to create with my audience. So, it's like the old saying in movies: if you want to make them laugh, make them cry. If you want to make them cry, make them laugh. It's kind of like that in sports talk. I don't want to make anybody cry, but you understand that you can change the tone of the conversation, but it's okay to have fun. And it's so important at times to block out the negativity, because listen, there's a lot of people, I shouldn't even say a lot, but that hate the Todd Peterson drop. Like, they can't laugh at it. They don't think it's funny. They don't like it. They think it's distracting. They think it's stupid. They think it's immature. Whatever the case may be. My boss sent me an email today that he got from a gentleman who described himself as 70 years old. He's a Vietnam veteran, loves sports talk, but he thinks it should be all serious, and that I should never play the Todd Peterson drop, that it's sophomoric. And it's like, okay, but you're not my demographic. You're a set, like, and it's, I don't know why he had mentioned that he served. I don't know why military service has anything to do with this conversation at all, but like, that's so far greater than anything I'll ever do on the radio, the fact that he served our country, but it has nothing to do with what I do on air from 3 to 6 every day. My job is to entertain, to inform. Hopefully people leave the show feeling like they got a few laughs, they learned a little bit, had some fun, and you got to take risks. And sometimes you take risks on bits and you try to have fun and you swing and miss, and it doesn't work. But it's like strikes and gutters, man. If it doesn't work, then you move on to the next thing. And sometimes you connect and it's great, and the Todd Peterson thing has worked. So you got to block out the negativity, because for every one person that tweets me or emails my boss that they hate the Todd Peterson drop, I'll have 200 that'll tweet me that they love it and they think about it all the time. They laugh about it every time. People at the SEC tournament game today were taking pictures of Todd Peterson in the batter's box, or his picture on the scoreboard, or him in the bullpen, and they're like tweeting at me their pictures of Todd Peterson. Like, my show has become associated with him because we play the stupid drop. Like, for no other reason than we've just consistently made that a recurring bit on the show that people have come to expect. But it's something that's identifiable, that connects you with the audience, that even when you're not on air, they're thinking about you. So it's so important to find things like that. And you can't force them. I mean, sometimes they have to happen organically. Sometimes you can have ideas, but you can't make an idea work if it doesn't resonate with your audience. This one did, and it's something that's so important to learn how to have fun. And sometimes you can create bits like that recur throughout a show. A couple more that I do, sometimes they're just a good entry point into a topic, aside from just doing the monotonous thing that everybody will approach on a topic. For example, I have a recurring bit I do called Time Machine. This is something that came up with, along with Josh Innes, when he and I were doing a show together in Baton Rouge 10 years ago. If it was, instead of doing the this day in history, if something significant happened, it's so easy just to do the where were you? Oh, I remember when Devery Henderson caught the Bluegrass Miracle. I was actually at an awards banquet on that Saturday afternoon in Baton Rouge. But nonetheless, that's something. Hey, where were you then? And you take calls and all that stuff. Instead of doing that, we do this Time Machine where we imaged it. It's like all this Back to the Future, Huey Lewis Back in Time song is the bed music, and we go do research for that day in history. what was at the movie theater, what were the number one songs on the radio. So you play clips from that movie. You play, clips from some of those number one songs on the radio from that time. What was happening in news, and you can maybe get sound bites from whatever happened to be current at that time. So anyway, it's a fun, creative way to talk about the same topic that people are going to be talking about, but to do it differently in a way, hopefully, to entertain. Freak Jury is another one, and a lot of stuff is ripped off. This is one I stole from Matt Kennedy, who for a long time did Morning Drive on WJBO in Baton Rouge and then Talk 107.3, so News Talk. And if ever there was a topic where it's like you could get a yes or no answer, a fun way to broach it is to do this Freak Jury. So what we do is we play the night court music. I have a gavel. It's no screen. We did a Freak Jury on, it was a kickoff rule. Do you want to get rid of kickoffs in the NFL? Well, instead of having people call and give long answers about do you want kickoffs in the NFL it was okay, let's do a Freak Jury. And you just do it for 3 to 5 minutes, and you play the night court theme, and you don't even screen. You just go right to the callers, and you ask them the question, and you keep a tally, and you banter with the producer, and the phone lines blow up. It's just another fun way to approach the same topic that everybody else is doing, but to put a different spin on it. So I'd encourage me, if you listen to my show, it's hopefully something that you see a lot, that I love to have fun with topics, and there are times when you have to be serious with things. But there are other times where you got to realize, man, it's still just sports. At the end of the day, we're not talking about life and death. We're talking about sports. And I understand that there are some people, and we refer to them as Talk Sports Guy, and maybe this is a whole nother podcast in and of itself, but I will never, ever, ever, ever structure a show specifically for Talk Sports Guy, because that isn't scalable. If all I'm doing is reading box scores, that'll never play on a mass level. That will never have mass appeal. And it's not that dissimilar from winning a political election. You never cater your campaign to your base, because if you're a Democrat, there are some Democrats that would rather gouge out their eyes than vote for a Republican, and vice versa. If you're a Republican, there are some Republicans that would rather walk over hot coals than ever vote for a Democrat. You don't build a campaign for those people. You build a campaign for the fence sitters. You build a campaign for that vote, for those voters that are on the fence to come, the swing vote. That's who you target in a campaign. So similarly, when I'm building a radio show, I'm not building a radio show for the guy that's been the 30-year season ticket holder that listens every day for 3 hours a day. No matter if he loves me or hates me, he's never going to leave. Because that guy's not going anywhere. And you don't take him for granted, but you understand, that's the only way you build a scalable show is to find those people in all different demographics that enjoy listening to you for different reasons that keep them coming back. And for so many people, it's the ability to laugh and have fun. So find your Todd Peterson and have fun with it. In the meantime, I love getting comments. So subscribe to the podcast. Shoot me an email, y'all, if you have a question, something you'd like me to address, or any comments. I'd love to hear it. mattmoscona@gmail.com. MattMoscona, mattmoscona@gmail.com. Tell a friend, and until next time, this has been Daily Scone. Peace, y'all.